2015 started looking at the issues with area payment and addressing the soil degradation. I think the mentality was that I got fed up of ripping land up and beating it back down again, and still coming out with the same result at the end of it. So we started to look at multi-species cover crops over that time. We had previously been putting a lot of mustard down on our lighter land price potatoes, trying to address a bit of the PCN issue and the biofumigation, but you always found that you grew the mustard, chopped it down, worked it in, and then by the time Christmas came, you'd kind of had another 200 mil of rain, and you were beating it down in spring again to try and get it to dry out. So we had touched upon the cover cropping aspect, but probably not managed it in the best way possible. But in 2017, I started to look at multi-species off my own back, and bits and bobs from AgriVista's Landport trials started to come out, and it was a bit of a light bulb moment. We had a Vardsnap rapid drill, and started drilling the cover crops with that. And to be fair, we had some great results out of it, with spring wheat going in off the back of 2017-18, where it was quite wet, and so at the back end of the drilling season in autumn. In 2017, we embarked on 30 hectares of trickle, which we got through a Leader grant system, and I think using the grant systems helped us get to where we are massively. It's definitely made it more cost effective than the previous system. We bought 30 hectares of trickle. We got a Leader grant on it, so 40%, as well as we took on the small grant scheme with the weather stations, yield monitor, variable rate application on the sprayer, which gave us the foundations to start doing the measuring of what we're trying to achieve and be able to react to a situation. And the next, probably the biggest thing I've done over the last 10, 15 years of being here, in 2018, I did the Worshipful Company Farmers Management course, which was a bit of a game changer for us, giving me the confidence and discipline and structure to take on what ideas I had to actually start executing them in the farm business. And I think also addressing where we were going as a business and what our intentions were, and getting a bit of a 10-year plan out. Yeah, I think going on that with, I think there's 21 other people with very different backgrounds, very different views. It challenged me as a person. I felt after the first week, I felt quite broken down about it, is to come out where I went there with high hopes that I thought I'd done quite well as a farmer, but I think it put us in a group of like-minded people, mentors to some extent, as well as farming friends, and we've developed a relationship after that where we have a group on a WhatsApp group where it gives the opportunity to share ideas and share what we've done and get back and get an honest answer from someone with honest figures. There's no pub talk or anything like that, and we have a meeting every year. But the course over 3 weeks, for me, out of everything I've ever done, 3 years at uni, 2 years of traveling, the Worshipful Company for me was an absolute game changer for our business. I think if we'd be in a very different place now if it wasn't for that course, and to come back and address, and I think get around the table. It was one thing that was in the back of my mind with succession and things like that. And someone actually said to me, what do you think is the most fundamental part of your business to be profitable? And I came back and said, after doing the course and going through the whole process with Wilson Wraith, I think a succession plan is fundamentally the most important thing you need for a farm to be profitable. And the Worshipful Company has been a great course for me to realise that and to work at that. And I think from then until only just a week or so ago, we've finally got to figuring out succession on the farm. And draw a line underneath it. And my four siblings, we spent probably around about 100 hours on it as a family, and to all be part of it. I've got one sister that's an accountant, and one sister that's a land agent. Having them on board is a great asset, as well as a nightmare sometimes. but they do make you justify what decision is done. And I think with the all being involved in it is giving everyone the opinion and where they want to be in the future, and where they want the farm to be in the future, and how they want it to be run. So I mean, the Worshipful Company for me, it put me on a totally different level as a business. I've looked at what they go on about, sweating your assets, making sure that everything's earning some money. We've looked at a lot of diversification, industrial units. We've got a maze being run. We've rented a wood out for kind of like outward bound activities. We've done the grants and things, and the extra reading that I've done from Worshipful Company that they've advised and gone on the other courses they've got available kind of like reinvigorates my goals where I want to be, and reinvigorates my understanding about the farm, as well as kind of like trying to plan for the future and gaining that mentality, with looking for opportunities for the business, as well as on that group there was Adam Driver, and he was a great person to talk to. He was down this route a lot sooner than what I was, but I think he was the one who, as you can imagine, challenged a lot of the systems or what everyone else was doing. And I think it came out the back of that after discussing with him and one or two other people where we want to be. And it made total sense to try and work with the environment. Before, I think in the 80s and 90s, the soil was only classed as a medium to grow a crop on, and wasn't classed as much of an asset. And that course is reiterated to me and emphasised to me more that the asset being the soil that we've had down from generation to generation. We need to look after it, and we need to make sure that whatever we do is sustainable for a long period of time. I was looking at how to address subsidy payments disappearing, and I think to address it, you need to potentially look back at what it's caused. And I think when you've looked at commercialisation of farming, and where it's gone from the 40s to now, and the introduction of chemical fertilizers and things like that, it's only ever been quite detrimental to the environment. I think if I can capitalize on the grants that are out there to try and a flywheel effect of what we're doing, where I can get going and use those to become better at what I do. After I did the course, I came out, and first thing I did was give Wilson Wraith a call and got them involved with budgeting and the big part of succession. And prior to that course, I had actually spoken to someone locally, John Miller at Farms over at Kellen, that's only probably about 5 miles away from us. Looked at doing a joint venture on a sugar beet drill, which was our first kind of like investment together as a partnership. And with the way things were going, technology was going, and he was using contractors to come and drill. We were using our own drill, but it was a drill from the 1980s, and we were finding a bottleneck during the season where we just couldn't get on fast enough where we needed to. So it was kind of like economies of scale, and it fitted both systems. And that was our first investment with him, and it worked really well for 2 years, which we're still running the drill. And actually, John, he was on the Worshipful Company a couple of years prior, so I think that discipline there is given us kind of like a good grounding for a good relationship. One big thing with Wilson Wraith was addressing budgeting and succession planning, and you can see underneath the depreciation schedule that we've had coming back in 2006 and having to invest a massive amount in machinery, as well as growing over that period of time by about 1,000 acres with bits and bobs of contracting, and with losing 500 acres as well back in 2020. It was a great opportunity for us to start streamlining where we wanted to go and what we want to invest our money in. And you can just see there has been investment in machinery, but it's trying to get things right. But we are addressing that issue, and you can see it is very high, our depreciation cost over the last 5-6 years. A lot of that's come from potato equipment and what that has cost. I think I'll probably address a bit later on is a question mark where potatoes will be for us in the future. and how we manage that in our system. I think it's a very capital hungry sector, and we aren't big enough growers to really keep investing that kind of money into it. So I'd like to think in 5 years' time, when depreciation dropped off, we might look at probably getting rid of that. But at the moment, you can see where we've come from and gone to. We've dropped a good £300,000 off the depreciation on the farm, and making things last longer, and just having a more streamlined system with less bits of kit, really. In 2019, with the guy John over at Kelham, we invested into another leader grant on his part, which he came to us with the idea that we invest with him into his cross-slot drill, which for us, our system, where the Vardastat had its limitations and we were pushing it to its limit, and we bought the cross-slot drill from Prime West down in Oxford and got the leader grant on that, and got rid of one or two other bits of kit to go down the cross-slot route. I'm not advocating getting rid of everything just to go direct drilling. It's we do have bits of kit that we still use. We've still got a Simba SL that we've modified up to be a low disturbance cultivator, even more so than what it was before. So we are cultivating where required. We started the stewardship agreement, which you've seen the areas that we've taken out of production on the cropping sheet, and also we entered into a STEPS grant, which is a Severn Trent grant scheme. We put down 100 hectares for £150 a hectare a year for cover crop that would be in for 12 weeks. That had to be established before the 15th of August, and that has given us the buffer that we needed to start looking at different species, and it gave us that opportunity that we could make mistakes and learn from them without having to take the financial implication. And the way I justified it was that we were starting to do low disturbance cultivations on a big part of the farm, apart from potatoes and sugar beet areas. I justified it by thinking the cost of reduction of cultivating would pay for that the seed and establishment method that we trialing and just trying to tweak, and it seems to be an ongoing thing. I think every year I seem to learn something more about species and whether or not they fit or whether or not they don't fit on different land types. And then we started to use Yagro benchmarking tool, which I'll touch upon a bit later on, and come out the figures that we get from that. And within that, we do the group that I was on with the Worshipful Company. There's a couple of them that have signed up to it as well, and we benchmark ourselves. There's something about farming is that you've got to take location and land type and work within that, and gain a bit of a pragmatic approach as to how to benchmark yourself. It's good, it's interesting, but there are limitations that you've got to work from and to. And also we carried on the Wilson Wraith benchmarking there and working with that, which you'll see some of the figures and budgeting figures that we go through, and how we manage that. This year we're looking at reducing the nutrition aspect even further than what we were before. We've only applied between 160 to 180 kgs of nitrogen on the wheats, and put in some additives within that, be it small nutrition, molasses, humic acids, things like that, to try and manage and bring up the nitrogen use efficiency. And trying to reduce our fungicide cost by using nutrition and different products on top of that to help us gain more control over the chemical spend that we're doing. And I've got to say, Avia Fertiliser, Nick Woodyard, has been a great help within that to give us the advice and confidence and detail that we need to. And we have tried a trial block of potatoes at 1 hectare of no chemical cost whatsoever on it, and we managed to get that through to harvest with only, I think, 2 blight sprays on it towards the back end of the season, where we could see it just coming in. And then we have been reducing seed treatments and replacing with nutrition as well on the heavier land with the combinables approach, except for 2021, which trying to get hold of seed. I find that some seed merchants, they are reluctant to sell seed without seed dressing on, because I think it's where they make a lot of their margins. So this coming year, we ended up, well, this year we ended up taking probably about 5 or 6 ton of seed dressing treated seed, which I wasn't too happy about, but we didn't have any other seed to get drilling when the going was good, and as everyone can remember, it's been a pretty good back end to get work done. And looking into next year with that, we're going to start cleaning our own seed on farm and get someone in to do that, so we're in control of it and we can manage that risk. But we do get the seed tested for germination and with the beans with astrocite and things like that. So and soil-borne disease, seed-borne diseases that can come on it, we do get it tested, so we know where we're starting with. And also what we're looking at this year, one thing that the guy who we were with the joint venture in, he started last year, is looking at with a greener, which is carbon sequencing opportunities where carbon trading, which I think they talk about £25 a tonne that you can get for it. So we're going into that intensively. I know there's a lot of talk about where this whole carbon subject's going to, but I think if we can be an early adopter, we can in a way, it might all be rubbish, but if we can get the financial benefits out of it early doors, we've got an opportunity of capitalising on the market